Hi, and welcome to another edition of PraxHacks. Today, we are going to give you the tips for your best source-based essay. We'll tell you a little bit more about what this essay is, and then how to get your best score, what the scores are really looking for, and a hint that will just be a complete game changer for approaching this essay. But first, I want to thank our sponsor, Upside. Upside is a free app you can download and get free money back. No joke. You can keep all of your reward points and everything else that you might have going on, but by downloading the Upside app, you get additional money back. And if you use the code down there, UWVQ4, you're going to get an additional 15 cents per gallon back on your first fill up. For me personally, that was, I believe, about 25 cents a gallon back the first time I filled up. Real money back in my pocket. So download the Upside app and save yourself some money. So, source-based essay in a nutshell. So, long and short of it, the source-based essay requires you to read two passages and then write an essay telling about those two passages, why they're important, and then kind of compare and contrast those two. It's a very different type of writing, and often the topics, and we'll talk about this a little bit later in this video, but often the topics are at least somewhat controversial. You want to be sure that you're just telling about those essays and not inserting your opinion in it. Now, this is where this gets really kind of tricky if you go into it not knowing a lot about these essays, because they'll ask you to write first an argumentative essay, and then they'll ask you to write this source-based essay. What a lot of people do is write more of an opinionated piece for both because they're both fairly controversial topics. But that's not the case. That is not what the source-based essay is all about. Let's get into that a little bit more. So yeah, not opinionated. I can't stress that enough. Think of the source-based essay as being a news reporter and just reporting whatever each of these two sources say. You're not telling your opinion, you're not influencing, you're not arguing, you're just summarizing these two sources, okay? Your opinion, nowhere in any of this. So here's the game changer. Pay close attention. As you approach this topic, you're going to read the instructions, and then there's the two sources. Most people approach this and read both sources and then start writing. We just tend to do what comes first and then go to whatever comes next. I'm going to tell you, and this is something to practice before you go into it, but practice and try reading one source and then writing a summary paragraph, including a quote, and then read the second source and then write another summary about that second source, including a quote. Then write an introduction paragraph that ties the two together. Or you could write a conclusion paragraph that ties the two together. You don't necessarily need both an intro and a conclusion, but you have to tie the two sources together in some way. Now, check out our other video about the source-based essay to learn more about how this is scored. But this is just a hint of how to write it. It's going to save you so much time because you're not looking back and trying to say, okay, who just said what and why, and you're just going to focus on one source at a time, get your 2 body paragraphs done, and then go into either an introduction or a conclusion to tie those 2 sources together. So, speaking of organization, this particular one is showing a 3 to 4 paragraph organization. And the reason I say 3 to 4 paragraphs is because, again, this is something to practice. Do you have enough time in 30 minutes to write an introduction, a summary of one passage, a summary of the second passage, and then write a conclusion? That's going to give you the 4 paragraphs that you really should have. But by taking that time to read those 2 passages and write this much in 30 minutes, you're going to have to really be a speed reader and a speed writer, and a careful speed writer at that. So I'm going to say shoot for doing 3 paragraphs, either an intro or a conclusion, and then 1 paragraph for summarizing your first source, another paragraph summarizing the second source, each one with a quote pulled from those sources. See our other video about source-based essay for proper way to cite those. So, some possible topics. Earlier in this video, I said they might be somewhat controversial. Here's some examples that I've heard about lately that's been on the test. The gap year, where students take a year off between college or between high school and college. Another is ad limits. This could be such as limiting the number of billboards along a highway, for example, or the number of ads presented during programs. Those are, see how they're not like hugely controversial, but they're just some things somebody might have an opinion on. And last but not least, space tourism, thinking about the pros and cons. Excuse me, there's a lot of videos out there, or a lot of blogs and writings and opinionated pieces about space tourism and against space tourism. One of the possible topics you might see and have these 2 sources about is space tourism. Okay, so if you want more practice and more information on the source-based essay and all the rest of the stuff that goes along with this Praxis Core Writing 5723, check out our book. It's available on Amazon. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and share it to your friends that's getting ready to take this test. Hit the subscribe. We try to drop content every day. Currently, we're working through the writing. Next up will be the reading Praxis Core. And then we'll also jump into the math. But anyway, check us out. Keep us in mind. Tell your friends about us. And we will see you again on our next episode of PraxHacks. Thanks for watching.